sort of gives Bruce's hand and says, like, the reason that, your dad was a hero wasn't because he died, right? The reason your
Hmm.
dad was a hero was because he wanted to live, right? Because he wanted to get through, because he wanted to stand for something better, right?
Right.
I think is a really cool idea.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I really dig that it's like you don't want to be a martyr. You just want to be a hero in your life, and then
Hmm.
like die as an old person or something.
Right,
It's about how you live, not how you die.
right. I will say one of my favorite runs of Batman is the recent
Hmm.
Rebirth run from Tom King, and he had a trade that he wrote called "I Am Suicide," which is basically the idea that Batman is Bruce Wayne's suicide note, right? That he's doing it, that he is doing it for the wrong reasons, and so it's kind of
Mm.
interesting that, like, in this in this 2-issue arc, we set up the idea and we tear it down immediately. Like, we don't give it oxygen, we don't give it breath, we don't like view it from Bruce's point of view. We're viewing it externally, right? Like, this is Croc pointing out that it's kind of toxic, right? That, like, it is from a place of, it's not from a place of positivity, and that it's something that he should let go, right? And he should let other people in, because the point is, you know, of being a hero is to rescue people. It's not to
Hmm.
sort of disassociate from your feelings. Tom King took that a very different direction, right? Like, he wallows in it, right? Like, and that's what he does, is he writes like sad man books, right? Where we
Mm.
spend 5 issues where feeling the way that Bruce feels. And I don't think that Tom King's ultimate message was that was super kosher and awesome and the way that Batman ought to be, right? But you might make the mistake if you didn't read, all 75 issues of Tom King's Batman, thinking that's the takeaway. But so I don't think what Scott Snyder is doing here is like trying to. You might make the mistake of like saying this is an answer to Tom King's Batman. It's a metatextual dialogue with a previous writer. I don't think that's what this is,
Sure.
because ultimately, and this is the thing I've heard other people do, right? Like, if you
Hmm.
read about it online or hear other people's podcasts, things like that. One of the things is they'll push back on the idea that, like, Batman is this, like, broody, sad, individual that, like, feels no feelings and is a loner, and there's this sort of like fandom position that is, hey, the Bat family is a place of strength, right? And you have all these surrounding characters, and the idea that those are different interpretations of the character. I think this is actually a very similar interpretation of the fundamental struggle, right? Or the fundamental contradiction that is someone finding strength in tragedy, right? And so I think it is actually two authors taking a different strategy to the same deconstruction, right? Which
Hmm.
is, there is something that feels uncomfortable there about, like, finding strength through a tragedy, and how do you
Hmm.
resolve that, right? Um,
Yeah. So I'm picking up. There's also like a strong parallel to like The Dark Knight Rises,
mm,
and kind of that storyline of Michael Caine,
mm-hmm, yeah,
Alfred being like, "Hey, I don't want to be here when you die. Like
right,
you're definitely doing this in a suicide mission kind of way. You're being reckless, and I'm
mm-hmm,
not going to stick around for it."
yeah,
And ultimately, in the end, you get the happy spoiler alert, but you get the happy ending where Bruce like graduates
mm-hmm,
in a way, like he kind of hands it off. But it's kind of interesting you're talking about this because I haven't really thought a lot about this concept of like who do I think Batman is,
yeah,
and I always took it more as like Bruce had a terrible thing happen and it
mm-hmm,
motivated him for a while to focus on morality and fighting crime and stuff, and then like his family was focused on like supporting Gotham, and
mm-hmm,
he ultimately like turned and has that like deep love for Gotham. Like we see a lot of that in modern times where people are just like all about like they love LA or they love Chicago
mm,
or like New York's the greatest city or whatever. And like I just kind of took it as like he fell in love with Gotham and is just like trying to do the best for it all the time,
yeah,
but is like a whole entire person. He just has the skills, abilities, and
oh,
resources
sure, yeah,
to actually make a difference. And so that's what he's doing. So that's it's kind of interesting the whole like concept that some people think Batman is just like a super sad boy on his way out.
Well, yeah, it's like, well,
Yeah.
have you ever seen the meme online of like men will do X? They'll do anything, including X, except go to therapy.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, men will dress up like a bat and like hurt people, and like I don't know, do all kinds of ridiculous things. Drive around in a sports car at night, beating up criminals rather than go to therapy, right? Or
Yeah.
the joke being that like, oh yeah, they'll go to the horse track or whatever instead of going to therapy,
Yeah.
or they'll
Yeah.
do whatever like negative thing. I think it is, in a way, the authors Scott Snyder, Tom King, some of the recent people who are grappling with this are trying to answer that idea that like, well, the only way that someone could do this is if they're fundamentally broken, right? And if they have some sort of unresolved internal trauma. And so I don't think that they're necessarily trying to validate a perspective different to the one that you have, which is like,
Hmm.
oh, it's just someone who's in love in the city, right, and wants to save it.
Hmm.
But it is one that is more complicated, right? I think it's sort of grappling with, well, if there were other motivations rumbling around in there, how would that work, right? So,
Yeah.
and I
For sure.
think rightly so, right? Like when you try to make the character more three dimensional and you step away from like the sort of Silver Age simple version of like
Oh,
he's a
for
do gooder
sure.
doing good, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Like I really again, like I've not really thought about this stuff before, but
Sure.
like thinking through like what I've observed, I actually think he's probably like a really well adjusted individual because he's so analytical and he's figured
Mm,
out how to like organize his. He doesn't do a lot of like crazy reckless things.
sure.
He makes like these really. He's a detective. He makes these great plans that just like generally go well.
Hmm.
And I think about like the Justice League where he's got the like fallback plan to take
Contingency,
out
yeah. Hmm.
the contingency plan for each of the other superheroes, including himself.
Right.
And that is, I don't know, that seems like a very like analytical, well adjusted
Hmm.
thing to do if he's correct.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And he is essentially correct in the process. So uh, he might be I don't know, kind of cold sometimes because he's so like analytical and robotic, but he does know how to like care for people. He does have his heart in the right place. He like I read this thing that was like kind of a fun fact that it really stuck with me. I like it a lot. Is they say that, and it might be BS. It might be just in like one universe or something. But
Hmm.
like, supposedly in his utility belt, he always has lollipops, which kind of
Oh,
sounds like a
sure. Yeah.
pedophile kind of thing. But it's actually because like he was in a situation where as a kid he dealt with trauma,
Yeah.
and having something to comfort is helpful. So he's always got a sucker or a lollipop in the case that kids are involved, and he needs to comfort them and make them feel better about whatever.
Yeah.
And I really love that idea.
I mean, I think one of the other critiques, right, that DC
Hmm.
Comics get a lot, right, is that all their characters are super gods, right? I think the cup half
Mm.
full way of looking at that is the idea that, um, comic books are the modern fable. They're the modern legend. So like it's they're the equivalent of like Zeus and Athena and
Yeah, yeah. It's
Hercules
like
and
the Watchmen. The what's
uh,
his name in the Watchmen? Yeah.
yeah. And I think that's all true, but it makes it less relatable, right? Like if
Hmm.
you think about like no one's actually perfect, right?
Right.
Like one of my favorite tweets ever is from the tweet of God, which is a handle where he said that his name is God and he's got a picture of like white beard, whatever.
Oh,
Uh,
that's funny.
and the tweet was like, no one knows what they're doing. I can't stress this enough, right? That like
Yeah, accurate.
even the people who seem like they have their stuff the most together, who are the smartest, who achieve at the highest level, they have their own issues, man, and they
Oh
second guess
yeah,
themselves. And
yeah.
a lot of times, things that come out polished are the result of lots of measuring and cutting twice and failing and doing it again, and
Oh
measuring twice,
yeah.
cutting once is what I meant to say, but you know what
I
I
know
mean.
what you meant.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think the thing is that like you describe, okay, the Batman that's the end state, right? The
Yeah.
one that
Oh
has the
sure.
contingency plan is the one who has become God, right? The one who has the lollipops because they always want to be ready to show compassion to a child, right? That is the one that has been through the stuff and who has
Mhm.
has
Oh, for
has
sure.
become the person they're going to be, right? And I think um, when we try to make Batman more real and more three dimensional and more um, in our in the image of ourselves, right, or in relatable to ourselves, right, then it is someone who goes through a process of becoming that, right? And I think that's what a Batman early in his career, like Scott Snyder is writing.
Yes, this is a really good point.
Yeah. has to show, like, how does he end up in a situation where he learns how to accept people's help? How
Yeah,
does he end up in a situation where living to fight another day is just as important as bringing the justice, right?
yeah,
Because you can't um you can't stop more injustice if you're dead. Right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's a platitude that's really easy to say, but how do you feel it in your bones, right?
yeah,
And
for
so
sure.
I think that's the story that Scott Snyder's trying to tell here. And it's a
Yeah,
great one. Like I think
and
go ahead.
oh, it's classic hero's journey, right? Like
Mhm.
like why do we fall, Master Bruce? So we can learn to get back up, right?
Yeah.
And
But
like
instead
yes,
of in telling, we're showing here, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and then in like early in the career, that's when you have like Robert Pattinson, who's like super brooding
Yeah.
and like emo Batman,
Yeah.
which actually aligns up pretty well with some of the stuff we've seen
Yeah.
here, and he's going to be learning the lessons to mature.
Well, you've got that scene where he is it a parachute? I can't remember. Or is it a squirrel suit? He like jumps out of a building and like hits a bridge and like
Oh yeah, yeah. He off the top of a van or something or a bus.
yeah,
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
gets
yeah, yeah,
screwed up, and it's like, oh
yeah,
yeah, this Batman isn't infallible. Like he will
yeah.
hurt himself because he does do something stupid. Like
Hmm.
yeah, it looks badass, but actually a bad idea,
Yeah.
right? And so the thing is that going in to fight Sionis by yourself, it may feel cool, but it's pretty dumb. Like you should have a plan. Like there should be an exit strategy. There should be a next step.
Yes. Well, and then you're kind of queuing up some thoughts that I want to talk about as this goes on.
Hey, Bat Fam, hope you like the show. If you do, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. Stickers. We got stickers. It's a great way to support the show. Just $5. Link in the description and on batlessons.com. To keep the Batman history train going, watch this video next.